Hi everybody, welcome to week 5 of CAT125R. This week we'll be discussing practicing for effective delivery. This week you're beginning to think and work on your expertise speech assignment. This is an Ignite style presentation, which means it's a 5-minute speech with 20 automatically advancing slides of 15 seconds each. And the topic can be really anything that showcases a specific area of your expertise. For some of you, I know that the thought of giving a speech is fear-inducing. And trust me, you're not alone in this feeling. Let's stop and take a quick look at what comedian Jerry Seinfeld has to say on the subject.
I saw a study that said speaking in front of a crowd is considered the #1 fear of the average person. I found that amazing. Number 2 was death. Death is number 2? This means to the average person, if you have to be at a funeral, you would rather be in the casket than doing the eulogy.
So that little comedy interlude is really just to say that your TAs and I understand that public speaking can be a serious challenge, and this assignment is designed, like all the assignments in the class, to really break down the process for you and guide you through step by step so that you'll feel confident addressing this particular rhetorical situation. Here's what a former student had to say about the expertise speech assignment. She writes, "Many of the students who presented their speeches that day seemed to possess a natural gift in public speaking. I personally needed a lot of practice and memorization." This student found herself being much more successful than she thought she would, even though she had some initial anxiety. She went on to write, "I even used it as an example during a job interview to prove not just public speaking skills, but my determination to succeed, explaining how every sentence was designed perfectly to go with each slide." This was a student who wrote about an elephant refuge in Thailand where she had an interesting learning abroad experience. Thinking about your last assignment, the statement of purpose assignment, in relation to the expertise speech assignment, will help you think about how this assignment may function in a different rhetorical manner than the statement of purpose. So the statement of purpose assignment, the purpose is known, right? You know that your purpose is to persuade, to convince. The audience was the more unknown quantity. Right? You spent a lot of time thinking about how you could define your audience for the statement of purpose assignment. For the expertise speech, the audience is known. The audience is in fact very small for the expertise speech. It is your TA and your section mates. The purpose is potentially more open-ended here and is yours to determine. So what I wanted to do with the rest of our video this week is get you started with thinking about how to narrow and determine your purpose for your expertise speech. One way to approach this is through the ideas of rhetorician Lloyd Bitzer, who you'll be learning about in this week's lecture videos. So Bitzer talks about the rhetorical situation, and one of his key ideas is that of exigence. So he writes, "Any exigence is an imperfection marked by urgency. It is a defect, an obstacle, something waiting to be done, a thing which is other than it should be." So he also writes that in any rhetorical situation, there will be at least one controlling exigence which functions as the organizing principle. So what we're going to look at in the rest of this video is how you can identify the exigence or organizing principle for your speech. The key thing to keep in mind, though, is that the central idea or organizing principle comes out of some need you identify or some change you'd like to see the audience make. That's where this idea of an exigence is really useful. You can think about your speech as being a call to action for your audience. So let's talk about designing your speech. We're going to use a rhetorical term here, invention, or what is it that you're going to talk about in more common language. So first, choosing a topic. So this is an expertise speech, so ideally this is a topic you already know something about. though of course your speech can benefit from additional research. You also want to determine a general purpose. Usually, you can think about your speech being informational or persuasive. Of course, it could be some combination of the two. Then you want to determine a specific purpose. What precisely do you hope to accomplish with your speech? What is your particular call to action? And then you want to phrase a central idea. So this is something you had a lot of practice with the statement of purpose. We're going to keep thinking about that as central idea. In this case, a one-sentence statement that sums up the major ideas of your speech. So let's think about an example from a former student to talk about how to really focus your central idea statement in a specific way. Remember that this speech is relatively short, all things considered. I know it may feel long when you're writing it or tasked with presenting it, but in fact it's short and needs to be really focused as a result. So here's an example that we can think about. So here's a less effective central idea statement. Problems of fad diets. Really too general to work for a speech of this length. More effective, you see it gets a lot more specific. Although fad diets produce quick weight loss, they can lead to serious health problems by creating deficiencies in vitamins and minerals and by breaking down muscle tissue as well as fat, and should be avoided in favor of more moderate nutritional approaches. So instead of this really general statement of problems of fad diets, we get into exactly what the problems are that this student plans to discuss in the expertise speech. Another example, less effective. What are nanorobots? So such a big question for such a short speech really isn't going to work. A more effective central idea statement would be something like, my work in a nanorobotics lab can be used to explain how nanorobots may be used in daily life. So here we have a really strong sense of what this student's particular expertise is and how that expertise will come into play as they explain the relevance of their research to daily life. So some questions to help you think about focusing your Ignite speech. Start with the topic, right, the general topic of your speech, and then focus this topic by considering three things. One, what might your audience really care about with this topic? So as we said, you have a pretty good handle on who your audience is for this presentation. You know that they are students in an online class learning about rhetoric. So at the very minimum, you know that about them. Chances are you've started to learn even more through your discussion meetings. What is your purpose? What do you want to accomplish with your speech? And then finally, what is your central idea statement? So let's look at an example on how you could narrow your focus by starting with a topic and answering those three questions. So first, our topic is coffee. Audience concerns. Okay, well, we know our audience is made up of students, so we could think that our audience drinks coffee because they stay up late studying. We also know that students tend to be on a budget, so we know that they care about not wasting their money on bad coffee. Then you can determine the purpose of the speech. This student wanted to do a persuasive speech to persuade the audience to buy coffee from a particular location on campus, in this case, the Mandeville Coffee Cart. And thinking about those questions in relation to each other, you can come up with a really solid central idea statement. Although there are numerous places to buy coffee on campus, they are not all created equal. You should buy your coffee from the Mandeville Coffee Cart because it offers a superior product in terms of value, taste, and caffeine delivery. So now I'd like you to take some time thinking about how you can focus your own expertise speech by thinking about the topic, the audience, and the purpose. Now that you've done a little bit of writing on the topic, audience, and purpose, I'd like you to write down what your central idea statement is for your expertise speech. So hopefully by the time you've completed all the questions in this video, you're on your way to thinking about the early stages of your draft for your expertise speech. I encourage you to reach out with any questions you might have via Piazza, email, or my office hours. And as always, I look forward to reading your work, and I will definitely be seeing you on Piazza. Have a great week.